Happy Sunday morning. This one's called A Factory That Bought Its Own Stock: How Boeing, GE, and the Financialization of Manufacturing chose stock price over engineering, safety, and their own workers. It's Essay 9 of 13 called Evidence They Can't Defend, Making the Case for Extraction. So here goes. During the CTS launch at Lansing Grand River, we had a defect that would not go away. The instrument panel rubbed the door opening as it went in. Every shift, on some fraction of cars, a scuff where no scuff should be. The easy move on an assembly floor is to blame the operator. The panel is heavy and awkward, the aperture is tight, and somebody is not being careful enough. That explanation is always available, and it's almost always wrong. Ramon Hernandez was my team leader on instrument panel install, and he did the opposite. He took the fault onto himself and his team, which is not a small thing to do in a plant during a launch, when the whole building is looking for somewhere to put the blame. Then he gathered data, shift after shift, car after car, until he could trace the scuff back to its origin, a tool mechanism on his own team station. He found the failure point before it became a warranty claim. Sit with the sequence, because every part of it matters. He noticed. He accepted responsibility before he'd established it. He measured rather than argued. He followed it upstream to his own equipment rather than downstream to somebody's hands. And he did it during a launch under time pressure with nobody instructing him to. No system handed him that. There was no procedure titled "Trace the chronic defect to its root and absorb the blame while you do it." He had been formed to look over years on a floor that had taught him what looking was for. Now, hold that man in your mind and read the rest of this essay, because what follows is the story of an industry that spent 4 decades converting people like Ramon into a cost line and then discovered what they had been carrying. So the first one is the Welch Doctrine. When Jack Welch became CEO of General Electric in 1981, GE made jet engines, locomotives, appliances, and medical equipment. When he left in 2001, GE was effectively a financial company that still happened to make some things. Welch pioneered what became the dominant model of American manufacturing: relentless cost cutting, obsession with quarterly earnings, massive stock buybacks, and the treatment of employees as costs rather than assets. His rank and yank system, grading people on a forced curve and terminating the bottom 15% annually, became the template for a generation of chief executives. Under Welch, the stock soared. Fortune named him manager of the century. Every major manufacturing CEO in America tried to copy him. Then GE collapsed. The financial engineering that inflated the numbers for 2 decades left the company hollow. By 2024, it had been broken into 3 separate companies, having destroyed more shareholder value in its decline than it created in its rise. The manager of the century produced a company that could not survive 2 decades after he left it. Next, I give you Boeing. Boeing is the Welch Doctrine applied to an industry where the product must not fail. In 1997, Boeing acquired McDonnell Douglas, a company known for aggressive cost cutting. A merger often described as McDonnell Douglas acquiring Boeing with Boeing's money. Former McDonnell executive Harry Stonecipher became CEO and announced the intent openly. When people say I changed the culture of Boeing, that was the intent, so that it is run like a business rather than a great engineering firm. Between 1998 and 2018, Boeing spent $61 billion on stock buybacks, 81.8% of its profits. Add dividends, and shareholders received 121% of profits. The company returned more than it earned. Between 2013 and 2018 alone, it spent $41.5 billion on buybacks. CEO Dennis Muhlenberg personally received at least $106 million from 2011 to 2018, primarily in stock. Capital expenditure fell below 2% of sales, half what Airbus typically spent. Boeing could have designed an entirely new airplane with fully modern technology for roughly $7 billion, about what it spent on buybacks in a single year of that period. Instead, it chose to re-engineer the aging 737, bolt on larger engines, and add software to compensate for the aerodynamic consequences. And they called it the 737 MAX. So let's start with a number, 346. We'll get to it. On 29th October 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 went into the Java Sea, killing all 189 aboard. On 10th March 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed minutes after takeoff, killing all 157. Both were 737 MAX aircraft. Both crashed because of MCAS, a software system designed to compensate for instability created by larger engines fitted to a 1960s airframe. The system was a workaround that avoided the cost of designing a new airplane. Boeing spent $41.5 billion on buybacks in the 5 years before those crashes. The safety work experts say was necessary would have cost under $7 billion. In January of 2024, a door plug blew out of a 737 MAX 9 in flight. The FAA investigation found systemic quality failures across Boeing's manufacturing processes. The industry analyst Richard Abulafia summarized the culture in one line. It's a bit dramatic. Crush the workers, share price, share price, share price. Financial moves and metrics first, a ruthless effort to cut costs with no realization of what it could do to capabilities. Harvard Business School's Bill George concluded that decision, taken in the name of shareholder value, over 2 decades cost Boeing's investors $87 billion since 2018. The extraction destroyed more value than it captured. Go back to the number I started this section with, 346. 346 is the addition of 189 and 157. Remember both those numbers, right? So next, let's go to GM. General Motors ran the same play in a lower key. Between 2015 and 2023, it spent over $30 billion on stock buybacks. In the same period, it closed multiple plants and laid off thousands of people, including the 2019 closure of the Lordstown assembly plant that took an Ohio town's economy with it. I watched an earlier version of that closure. Buick City shut down in 1999, and the accountants totaled the presses, the conveyors, the tooling. Every one of them had a value and a buyer. What the people in the building knew had no line at all. It walked out the gate inside them, and the books recorded nothing because the books had never recorded a gain. GM's stock-based executive compensation created the identical incentive to Boeing's. Every dollar spent on buybacks lifted earnings per share, which lifted the stock, which lifted executive pay. Every dollar spent forming an operator reduced the metrics that set it. The company that proved Numi it could match Toyota when it respected what its workers knew chose to close plants, buy stock, and reward its executives. What Toyota did instead, Toyota has never run a massive buyback program at the expense of manufacturing investment. It's never outsourced its core processes to cut costs. Its capital expenditure as a share of revenue consistently doubles Boeing's. And its investment in worker development through the Toyota production system is arguably the most comprehensive frontline training program in industrial history. It's also consistently outperforms its American competitors on quality, reliability, customer satisfaction, and long-term shareholder returns. So, there's a company that invests in capability, and a company that does that outperforms the company that extracts from it. The evidence is not subtle, and it is not new. So, what does manufacturing extraction mean? When a retailer is financialized, workers lose jobs and a town loses its shops. When a hospital is financialized, patients lose care. When manufacturing is financialized, people die. Boeing's 346 dead are not a management failure in the ordinary sense. They are the logical output of an extraction model applied to an industry where the product must not fail. When financial metrics replace engineering metrics, when buybacks replace investment, the degradation of capability is not a risk, it is the mechanism. The only variable is time. Boeing had decades of accumulated engineering excellence to burn through before the degradation became visible at 30,000 feet. GE had industrial momentum. GM had Numi era capability to coast on. Extraction is always on a timer. The question is never whether the bill arrives, only when. So, what I don't know. Here's the part I can't close, and I would rather name it than perform certainty. I don't know how you would have found Ramon in a Boeing-sized organization. He was 2 levels below me, and I knew what he did because I stood on that floor. A company with 170,000 people and a share price to defend has no instrument that surfaces a team leader tracing a scuff to his own tool. And the absence of that instrument is exactly why the capability can be spent without anyone noticing it going. I don't know what would have stopped it from inside. Every incentive at Boeing pointed one way. And the people who could see the erosion were the people with the least standing to name it. I have been the person on a floor watching a decision made 2 floors up that I could not reach. I don't have a mechanism for that. I have only ever had luck and a manager who happened to listen. And I don't know the number. if a formed operator catches a fault before it becomes a warranty claim, as Ramon did repeatedly for years, that is money that never appears on any statement because the defect never happened. The savings from cutting him are precise and immediate. The cost is diffuse, delayed, and invisible until it is a door plug at altitude. Until somebody can price the fault that did not occur, the ledger will keep recommending the cut. This is the piece I would most like somebody to build, and I can't build it alone. So, if you work in a plant, a hangar, a yard, or a line, tell me about a fault that never reached a customer because one person went looking. Then tell me whether anything in your company's accounts would show that it really happened. Thank you. Next, the algorithm that squeezes how digital platforms turned extraction into real-time optimization, suppressing wages by the minute while capturing value by the millisecond. I hope you look forward to it. Thank you.